So AI is changing everything, right? But the big question is, are we building it the right way? Today, we're going to unpack a super practical framework for taming what feels like the AI Wild West. We're talking about moving from messy, chaotic experiments to AI you can actually trust. AI that's ethical, reliable, and actually adds value. Let's dive in. Here's our game plan. First, we're going to explore this AI Wild West and the real costs that are hiding in plain sight. Then, we'll introduce a blueprint for trust called ERIGO-AI. We'll break down its core pillars and then show you a practical roadmap for putting it into action. And finally, we'll get to the good part, the real-world payoff of doing AI the right way. All right, let's set the stage here. Right now, so many organizations are in this frantic, almost desperate race to adopt AI. But this move fast and break things mentality, well, it often comes at a really steep price. And that brings us to the central question you have to ask yourself. Is your AI being built to last, or is it actually being built to fail? You see, in the mad dash to innovate, a lot of teams are deploying these incredibly powerful models without any of the necessary guardrails. And what you end up with are systems that are fragile and incredibly risky by their very design. This whole innovation first, oversight later culture, it has some pretty predictable and painful consequences. We see tons of money just wasted on pilot projects that look cool, but go absolutely nowhere. There's huge reputational risk from models that are biased, or worse, start hallucinating and giving customers bad information. And of course, the regulators are watching. But behind the scenes, there's something else happening. Companies are racking up this massive technical debt, all the shortcuts and quick fixes that sooner or later will have to be paid back, grinding all that exciting innovation to a halt. But here's the good news. It really doesn't have to be this way. The chaos of the Wild West can absolutely be tamed. What you need is a structured blueprint for trust, one that's designed to build responsibility right into the AI lifecycle from the very first day. And that blueprint? It's called ERIGO-AI. Now, at its absolute core, it is a governance framework. Its whole reason for being is to help organizations stop talking about responsible AI in abstract meetings and start actually doing it, operationalizing it in the real world. Which leads us to the ultimate goal, achieving something called responsible intelligence. And look, this isn't just another corporate buzzword. Think of it as a disciplined system that weaves together ethics, real accountability, and measurable performance. It's all about making responsibility a repeatable, auditable process, not just a vague aspiration. And here's a neat little detail. The philosophy is baked right into the name. Erigo is Latin for to raise up or build. And that perfectly captures the whole idea, to elevate intelligence with integrity, building something strong and trustworthy right from the foundation. This is all built on 7, let's call them non-negotiables principles. It has to be ethical, first and foremost, protecting human dignity. It has to be responsible, which means there's clear accountability, no finger pointing. It's iterative, because governance can't be set in stone, it has to evolve. Governed, so it operates within clear, understandable boundaries. It must be outcome-driven, measured by real-world value, not just how technically accurate it is. And of course, it has to be reliable and fundamentally human-centered, which means people are always in control. Okay, so principles are great, but how do you actually do it? How do you turn those ideas into practice? Well, that's where the framework's 5 interconnected operational pillars come into play. These 5 pillars are strategic alignment, ethical development, iterative delivery, governance and assurance, and finally, outcome measurement. You can basically think of these as the 5 core questions that every single AI project has to answer if it wants to succeed. The first pillar asks what is maybe the most important question of all. Why are we doing this? As the source material says, many AI projects fail because they start with capability rather than intent. This pillar forces everyone to hit pause and make sure every project has a crystal clear business case and a solid ethical justification before a single line of code gets written. Pillar 2 gets right into the nitty-gritty. How do we build this safely? This is where ethics stops being a philosophical discussion in a boardroom and becomes a concrete engineering discipline. It's about systematically baking things like fairness tests, bias mitigation, and risk assessments right into the development process. It's literally ethics by design, not by afterthought. Okay, Pillar 3 tackles a really modern tension, asking, how do we move fast without breaking people? We all know about agile development, that whole process of rapid, iterative work. It's great for speed. But with AI, speed without control is just reckless. So this pillar adapts those fast-paced methods by embedding ethical reviews and compliance checkpoints, making sure that rapid iteration is responsible, not dangerous. Pillar 4 is really the backbone of the whole thing. It answers the question, who is accountable? This is what establishes a clear, auditable chain of command for every single AI system. Who owns the risk? What are the rules? And, maybe most importantly, how can we prove we're following them? This pillar provides the hard evidence to back it all up. And finally, the 5th pillar asks the bottom line question. How do we know if this is actually working? See, success in AI can't just be about a model's technical accuracy score. This pillar demands a much broader definition of success, requiring a balanced scorecard that tracks financial ROI, ethical compliance, system reliability, and even measures of human trust. So we've got the principles and we've got the pillars, but how does an organization actually get started with this? Let's walk through the practical, step-by-step journey that takes you from chaos to control. The implementation roadmap is really broken down into 5 manageable phases. You start with discovery, which is really just figuring out what AI you already have floating around. Then you design the governance structure. From there, you pilot the framework on a small, controlled project. Once you see what works, you scale it across the whole enterprise. And finally, you sustain it for the long term through continuous improvement. And as you can see here, the framework even gives you a clear 5-level scale to measure how you're doing. This is the ERIGO-AI maturity model. Are you at level 1, where you're just running ad hoc experiments with no rules? Or have you made it all the way to level 5, where AI ethics are truly part of your company's DNA? This gives you a really tangible way to benchmark your progress. But let's be honest, all of this effort raises a very important question. What is the actual, tangible return on investment? What's the real payoff for building AI responsibly? Well, here's a number that tends to get everyone's attention. The framework's metrics are designed to target at least a 10% improvement in business ROI after deployment. And this happens because responsible AI means fewer failed projects, more reliable systems, and better alignment with what the business actually needs. Responsibility isn't just a cost center, it's a value driver. And the benefits just keep stacking up from there. You're ready for global regulations before they even hit. You get real operational efficiency because there's less rework. You build reputational resilience because you have systems you can actually explain and defend. You achieve true strategic agility, meaning you can innovate faster because you have guardrails, not just guesswork. And all of this leads to stakeholder trust, which, in the age of AI, is the ultimate competitive advantage. So we end right back where we started, with a fundamental choice. As every organization out there starts to build its future on AI, the question isn't if you'll adopt it, but how. Is your AI going to be left to chance in the Wild West, or is it going to be built with deliberate, responsible intent? Honestly, the answer to that question is what will define the winners and losers of the next decade.
Are you ready to learn more? Book a meeting with us at smbAccelerators.com.